right, short intro today as we have a lot of stuff to get done. I know you don't want to spend a lot of time because it's Friday, so we're going to move right along. Today is Joe Day. So, you know what you get to hear? Yes, even before we move very far along, Danny Thompson here, Countdown to Restoration, counting down to the days where we are finally restored from the Biden regime. But since it's Uncle Joe Day,
come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Petticoat Junction.
all right, now we're not going to get old Joe right away, but we're going to end with a lot of Joe. Because for some reason, they haven't had the press conference yet. And I think I know why, and maybe they're having it now, but they hadn't, it's not scheduled. So anyway, we are going to move along, but old Uncle Joe's still moving kind of slow, and I don't know if this has anything to do with it or not, but here is the poster child for the Biden regime, Dr. Rachel Levine. And remember, this is the kind of people they like to pick. And I mean, maybe this is a brilliant mind, even though he too should be investigated just like Cuomo is finally being investigated in New York, because in Pennsylvania they moved the sick into nursing homes too, those with COVID. Huh. Yeah, when's the press going to turn on Dr. Rachel? Sounds like a radio psychologist. Hi, I'm Dr. Rachel. Oh, thank you, sir. Oh, no, I'm a ma'am. Anyway, I know, it's not nice. I'm sorry. All right, we have this question from lifenews.com. Why is a germ considered life on Mars, but an unborn baby in the womb isn't considered life on Earth? Wow, that's a good question. And you know what? They don't have an answer. You know why? Because it is life. It is life. Here's the next question. Why aren't we looking for germs on Mars? Don't we have enough down here? All right. And this kind of answers the question of this regime, seculardems.org, in their quest for a totally godless society where all babies are aborted. I know, I'm adding the all. How about most? Yes, Secular Dems of America. Their policies are guiding this administration. You need to read that. We did a show on it this past Monday. Go back and watch it. Hey, it's always there. It's time for the weekend. You can binge watch, right? All right. What else do we have? We're moving right along. Just with Petticoat Junction. The House is expected to vote on sweeping LGBTQ rights bill next week, and President Biden's already said he will sign it. And while much of it may seem harmless to people, we're not sure how this will affect religious organizations. So we are thinking that the Republicans in the Senate will not let this pass because it's not fair to, for churches and religious organizations to have to hire people who don't believe like they do. But there's also a question, and we will see in the final, after the final vote in the House, this could also take away parental rights if your 9-year-old comes home. And, Biden already said that 9-year-olds should be able to decide what gender they are, since they can't, figure that out on their own before they're 9. But it could mean that parents could not do anything about that. If your little boy wants to be a girl, and doctors, even religious hospitals, could not refuse to do what that little 9-year-old wanted because they have rights. So can you imagine your little boy being able to go to a clinic and get hormone treatments to be a little girl at 9 and you can't do anything about it? Or you lose your child? I mean, I don't know what you would do about that. That's, there are young women who want to get hysterectomies at very young ages because they think they're a man. And doctors, religious hospitals, or even just doctors with sense wouldn't be able to tell them no because they have a right to be a male. And of course, now that we're paying for all this in the military, they could go into the military at 18 and do everything necessary to be a male, do everything necessary to be a female, and have to live with that the rest of their lives because they have a right. Call your representative. Tell them, there's a way to give rights without injuring people and destroying people. But that's their whole goal. Anyway, also to go with that, it's funny how all this came in after Dr. Rachel Levine. I don't know, just accident. Non-white LGBTQs twice as likely to test COVID positive than straight whites. I don't know why. I don't understand that. But non-white LGBTQs pluses twice as likely to test COVID positive than straight whites. I don't even know the relevance of this. That's what it says. Why it says it? Why would anybody look? Oh, if you're a LGBTQ plus and you're not white, we don't want to test white ones, just non-white ones. Let's see your rate of testing positive versus just a white guy walking down the street. Does the disease like them better? I don't understand. Or hate them more? How does that work? I think if a virus goes in you, they like you, right? Maybe they don't like straight white people. The viruses. But yet, that's another area of discrimination that I'm sure we're somehow responsible for that. We should make ourselves more virus prone if you're straight and white. Some things you just, why is anybody studying this? And what is anybody supposed to do about it? I don't know. Get them the vaccine first. It's all about equity. Some things confuse me. I try not to be confused, such as this. I'm glad it's happening, but this confuses me. Happening today, Supreme Court set to consider whether Trump voter fraud cases in Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Michigan can proceed. What confuses me about this? Why is it just now happening? What was wrong with an emergency hearing back in, say, December or even November? But they're considering that today. Says some things confuse me. I'm only human. There's a song, if you went to church or if you like country music, you might remember it. It's from the 70s. It's called One Day at a Time. And, the woman that's singing it obviously says, I'm only human. I'm just a woman. And every now and then a man would get up because that's the way they heard the song all the time, and they would sing that. And of course, everybody they were supposed to say man instead of woman. Now you can say that. I'm just a woman. Help me today to be all I can be, something like that. Now, see, that's confusing. If you're a man who says they're a woman and you want to be all you can be, because obviously you can't be all you can be either way. But anyway, I'm going to get off of that. Maybe I'm going to get off of that. We're going to get into some immigration news. A border mayor, the mayor of Del Rio, Texas. If you watch No Country for Old Men, that's part of it's taking place in Del Rio. Border mayor begged, and he's a Democrat, not Biden's a Democrat too, but the mayor. He's also Hispanic. Border mayor begs Biden to stop releasing illegal immigrants into his city amid winter storm. Oh, we're not doing that. Nobody's being released at the border. Our border is shut down. A Texas border mayor is begging President Biden to help his town struggling under extreme weather conditions, the coronavirus pandemic, and an influx of undocumented migrants crossing the border. I am pleading and requesting with you to please put a halt to any measures regarding the release of immigrants awaiting court dates into the city of Del Rio and the surrounding areas, Bruno Lozano, mayor of Del Rio, Texas, said in a video message to Biden Wednesday. Now, that obviously the mayor doesn't know what he's talking about because Jim Psaki has told us over and over nobody's getting in and the border's closed. And I know what's happening. Oh, it just hit me. He is calling Jen what? Yes, he may disappear by Monday. Who knows? I mean, he's saying Jen's lying, and we all know Jen would never lie. What else does he have to say? Now, this is highly upsetting. The city has been relying on municipal buildings to not only house citizens who have struggled with the recent frigid weather and lack of resources, but to distribute vaccines as well. And this is the mayor speaking. I cannot mix the migrant population with Del Rio residents that are extremely vulnerable and have been displaced due to the extreme weather. We may be a small town that is off your radar, but we are a community of 500,000 people who need your attention. And let's see if we can find, I'm missing a slide. You people back there in such trouble. Oh, my fault. It was right there. Lozano said releasing the migrant population without any COVID-19 protocols is undermining the administration's commitment to tackling COVID-19. See, that's been reported. They are releasing people. They're not testing them or anything else, and they're letting them wander the streets of our great country without even a COVID test. Here is a Hispanic mayor on the border telling us that's true. Telling us that's true. Telling us what? That's true. And our new favorite clip. Y'all come on and play.
Say it ain't so, Joe.
Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so, but it is. He didn't want to play, and now he doesn't want to go away. Say it ain't so, Joe. Oh, but it's so, isn't it? It is. It is. It is. What else do we have? Oh, we have nothing that's going to make you feel happy as we struggle through the dark winter of Joe Biden. And Joe Biden is what? Lest we forget who Joe Biden is. He is the thief in chief. Oh, yeah. The thief in chief. Yeah. Right over the dark winter. Oh, yeah. Thanks, buddy. I know. He was late getting here, so we had to move him down in the show. So right through the dark winter, what else do we have? U.S. officially rejoins Paris Accord, vowing to make up for lost time. What does that mean? Your taxes are going to go up. Prices are going to go up. They are going to be reining in all kinds of emissions, which, as we looked at yesterday, part of the Texas problem was because there are limits on power plant emissions, and even during this extreme cold, they had to be given permission to generate at full capacity. That's the kind of people that are in charge, ladies and gentlemen. They don't care if you're freezing. They don't care if people are dying of carbon monoxide poisoning because they're having to keep warm in their cars. They lied about the green energy being not even part of the equation because it wasn't the problem. Yeah, Texas has built 25% of its electrical grid on green energy, and that failed. Whether it failed because of the lack of wind or because of the freezing of the turbines, which can be corrected, it did not matter. So then what was available of natural gas and coal had to also make up 25% of that charging capacity. And you know what? We couldn't do it. And all they're saying is, oh, winterization. Yes, that would help. And that would help in a lot of southern states. It's not going to happen. It's very expensive. But if we just had normal power processes. Just thought I'd throw in that word just for fun. But no, everybody is going to be hot and cold depending on the season because we have to make up for lost time. Now, speaking of immigration, I don't know why the Paris Peace Accord was in there after the piece from the Laredo mayor. But as we read yesterday, everyone can come into this country on a visa now, even people who wouldn't normally come here, excuse me, because we're going to go out and try to find them. Except if you're from Belarus, imposing visa restrictions on additional individuals undermining Belarusian democracy. So, if you are undermining Belarusian democracy, you can't get a visa. Everybody else can. I mean, I think they're just going through and dropping visas out of airplanes over large segments of everywhere but the U.S. And so, but if you're from Belarus, so I just point that out, and maybe they need to be barred from visas. I don't know. I really have not studied the Belarusian situation, but we did find a segment of the world population that cannot get a visa. And there's probably how many people are actually undermining the Belarusian democracy. If we didn't give visas to everybody who's undermining the American, United States of America democracy, well, most of Congress couldn't go anywhere, could they? No one in the White House could. Anyway, what else do we have? Oh, yeah, one got out of order, but I caught it. ICE officers will need pre-approval before arresting some illegal immigrants under new rules. So they can find you, they can know that you should be picked up, but they have to call for approval. I'm sure you'll just stand right there and let them call. Because you have to now be such a horrible person, felonies over the roof, or a threat to national security, which means not any of them will be deported for that reason or even apprehended, because we know the only threat to national security is right-wing religious white nationals who obviously also need to be deported because we don't test as positive for COVID as non-white LGBTQs do. We're disgusting. And this is not even a racial show. They make it racial because everything that they do is about race. But anyway, it's part of the dark winter. Yesterday, we didn't have time to get to this. This is a readout of the White House's meeting with young community violence prevention advocates. Yes, they had that. They are working hard on this gun control stuff. Of course, led by Susan Rice. Let's see. She hosted a virtual discussion with a wide cross-section of youth advocates for community violence prevention. Participants shared their perspectives around the intersectionality of gun violence, how to how to put in place successful community-based violence interventions, and the importance of survivor-led and victim-centered policy making in the community violence prevention space. What? Do you think that they just walk around asking each other, what are we doing? What are we saying? Who writes all this stuff? I mean, they went to creative writing majors for all this, I think. All right, so Ambassador Rice and Senior Advisor Richmond expressed gratitude for the participants' central role in elevating the issue of gun violence, because the only violence in communities is gun violence. That's right. As a public health crisis, you know what happens when there's public health crisis? You're going to get a vaccination against gun violence. And you know how they do that? They take away your gun. And then they drop it off at the nearest gang clubhouse, I guess, because nobody's taking away their guns. Public health crisis and ensuring that youth in particular, black and brown young people, are at the tables where the violence prevention policies impacting their communities are created. They underscored President Biden's commitment to taking action to make our communities safer and ensure that equity drives our policy making across the federal government. Not truth, not actual need, but equity. I don't have a slide on it, but I think it's Utah and Montana actually approved constitutional carry. You can just be there and carry your weapon because you have a right to. There's nothing, because this freedom shall not be abridged. It can be like the Old West. Everybody can be carrying guns. But this is a health crisis, ladies and gentlemen, and I agree. If you have a bullet in you, it is a health crisis. But that's not going to stop anything. Everybody thinks it will. As my mom said, everybody that thinks it will stand on their head. That's just what she said. We never went and stood on our head, so I don't know. All right. We have some news that is my suspicion why the press conference was delayed. If it's happening at all today. Maybe they're taking Fridays off now. They have been working awfully hard. Just in, that's what it says, just in, Biden administration says it would accept an invitation to restart nuclear talks with Iran. Oh, wait a minute. Wasn't it just the other day that Jen was saying, oh, we're not doing that? No. Biden administration formally offers to restart nuclear talks with Iran. Where could this be going? Do you have any idea? No, I don't. Let's see. Let's find out from Joe himself. I told you it's going to be the Joe Show. All right, you remember Nora O'Donnell asking him this very question about Iran and sanctions. Let's continue.
Will the U.S. lift sanctions first in order to get Iran back to the negotiating table?
No.
They have to stop enriching uranium first.
Yeah, and the famous head nod. They have to stop that. No, we won't do anything until they stop that. Stop that, Iran. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? Now, Joe said a clear no. Now, Jen Psaki told us later that he was not setting federal policy with a head nod, but she didn't say anything about his word no. He said no. No. Biden withdraws Trump's restoration of UN sanctions on Iran. The Biden administration is withdrawing former President Donald Trump's restoration of UN sanctions on Iran. That's what it says. Wait a minute. I thought Joe said no, didn't he? Didn't Joe say no? Didn't we just hear that? Come back, Joe.
Will the U.S. lift sanctions first in order to get Iran back to the negotiating table?
No.
They have to stop enriching uranium first.
Yes. No. Yes. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that seems like someone's not being really honest with the American people. And I know presidents do that all the time. And they love to point it out when it's not a Democrat. As most people were, we were very upset with President Donald J. Trump, the rightful president, when on the campaign trail he said he was going to get rid of DACA. Not because we want all these young people who were raised here in this country to go back to countries they don't know, but it was an illegal order. And then he kept it until Congress wouldn't work with him. Then he let it go. And then the courts told him, oh, you can't stop that because it's an executive order. Oh, yeah, you can stop it, but you stopped it in the wrong way. But no, didn't like that then. I don't like it when presidents lie. Doesn't matter who. But at least have a better explanation than what we're going to see in a moment. So just stay tuned. We have much more to go on the lying Biden. The Biden administration on Thursday rescinded former President Donald Trump's restoration of UN sanctions on Iran, an announcement that could help Washington move toward rejoining the 2015 nuclear agreement aimed at reining in the Islamic Republic's nuclear program. Acting U.S. Ambassador Richard Mills sent a letter to the UN Security Council on behalf of President Joe Biden. He didn't just do it. He sent it on behalf of pretend president, mess up president, lying president Joe Biden, saying the United States hereby withdraws 3 letters from the Trump administration, culminating in its September 19 announcement that the United States had reimposed UN sanctions on Tehran, the capital of Iran, the horrible Islamic terrorist nation. All right. Let's see. Mills said in the letter obtained by the Associated Press that sanctions measures terminated in the 2015 Council resolution endorsing the nuclear deal with 6 major powers but restored by Trump in September remain terminated. They are terminated. No more sanctions. This we cannot sanction. It's not allowed. All right? It's not allowed. Trump pulled them because Iran was enriching uranium. And Iran, too, is not allowing inspectors in to even see what they're doing. And that report has come out before they did this. Biden has said the United States wants to rejoin the pact, and the State Department said Thursday the U.S. would accept an invitation from the European Union to attend a meeting of the participants in the original agreement: Britain, France, Germany, Russia, China, and Iran. And of course, we know why the Trump administration pulled out of that agreement, because it was horrible. What is their reasoning here? What is their reasoning here? The top Republican on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Representative Michael McCaul from Texas, criticized the Biden administration's moves, calling them concessions in an apparent attempt to re-enter the flawed Iran deal. State Department officials, speaking to reporters on the condition of anonymity, we can't know who they are, under the terms of the conversation, rejected those criticisms, saying that these are not concessions to Iran. These are concessions to common sense. No wonder they wanted to remain anonymous, because that is stupid. These are concessions to Iran. These are not concessions to Iran. These are concessions to common sense. Let's see, is it common sense to let somebody off the hook who's a terrorist state who's building nuclear weapons? Reminds me of one of my other most favorite stupid sayings from a very good movie that I enjoy watching very much, Bullet, with Steve McQueen as the star. He and Jacqueline Bisset are standing in a mess. It looks like the edge of a shipping yard. She's upset because she just saw a murdered woman, and she looks at him because he's a cop and she's not, says, what will become of us in time? And he says, time starts now. I still don't know what that means. And I don't understand this. I mean, the whole, just stupid statements because they're lying. Yeah, I know I should have got that clip, but I just now thought of it. I don't have a script. I kind of wing it here, fly off the thing. We have some guidelines with the slides, but I just come up with these things. That's why you should watch and tell someone. Everybody's going to be going to Bullet and trying to find that clip. But what do we have to say?
Say it ain't so, Joe.
Say it ain't so, but it is so. It is so. The liar in chief, yeah. The liar in chief, yeah. Has spoken. That's what we're doing. After he said what? Oh, well, I mean, let's just watch it over and over if we need to.
Will the U.S. lift sanctions first in order to get Iran back to the negotiating table?
No.
They have to stop enriching uranium first.
Yeah, shake the head. Yeah. Huh. I don't know how they're going to get out of that one. I'm sure Jen is going to say, we have not changed our policy. We are going ahead in consultation with our partners. Now, Mr. Joe, Uncle Joe, Lying Biden did tell the truth today as he is touring the Pfizer plant in Michigan, looking at doses of COVID vaccine, and the president or CEO of Pfizer, or whoever he was, gave a long speech telling all of their accomplishments and gave credit to Biden. And Biden said this.
Very much. Thank you not only for what you do for the credit you give me that I really don't deserve.
Let's listen to that again. That's the truth, bud.
Very much. Thank you not only for what you do for the credit you give me that I really don't deserve.
It's the only time he's told the truth. Well, since I've known him, I don't know. I mean, watching him as senator, but he couldn't keep it up. Now, this is really not a lie. It is an obvious, I could say it till I start trying to spread it out. It's presenting it in such a way that he's not lying, but he wants you to think a certain thing. Can you guess what it is when we play it? It's a little game we're going to play here.
For discovering the vaccines in record time. I remember when we first started talking about this, asking Dr. Fauci and others, said, well, it could take up to several years, maybe as many as 6 or 8 years to find a vaccine. It's a miracle of science.
Did you catch that? Did you catch it? Listen again.
For discovering the vaccines in record time. I remember when we first started talking about this, asking Dr. Fauci and others, said, well, it could take up to several years, maybe as many as 6 or 8 years to find a vaccine. It's a miracle of science.
See, the way he's saying it, he's making it sound like he's the one that was in charge. I remember when we started talking about this and asking Dr. Fauci how long this would take. 6 to 8 years. This is a miracle of science. He wasn't president when they started asking Dr. Fauci anything about this. The vaccine came in record time because the Donald J. Trump rightful administration opened the door for it and pushed people for it. Now, I know there's vaccine problems, etc., etc. I'm just saying he's trying to take credit for that. Very carefully worded, not one word. Now, he put blame on the previous administration for things that aren't even true. And we're not going to go through everything because I can only handle so much of Joe. I can watch the Petticoat Junction opening where Uncle Joe gets out of the rocker all day long, but I can only take so much of lying Biden. All right? But now he's taking credit for the vaccine. But not doing it, because Jen would say, he didn't say he did. He just remembers when the questions were asked. It won't be very long, and You know what's interesting? They gave Governor Cuomo a Emmy for all his work on the coronavirus, and now even AOC is turned against him, demanding an investigation. People are calling for his impeachment and him to resign and everything else. And he was such a COVID hero. Wouldn't it just be wonderful if COVID hero Joe all of a sudden was unmasked? I didn't even mean to say it that way, but that's pretty funny, isn't it? Unmasked and having to suffer the same fate. Who out there would be upset about that? Stand on your head, as my mom would say. Anyway, all we know to say is...
Say it ain't so, Joe.
I'm sorry. I just thought of that clip today and had to get it. I mean, this guy's a case, isn't he? Would we ever, are we going to talk to Iran before we drop sanctions? No. Oh, on behalf of Joseph Biden, we sent a letter to the UN Security Council. We're dropping sanctions. We hope we're open to talking to Iran. We hope they invite us to talk to Iran. We want in. Please talk to us. We dropped the sanctions. All right. What time is it? Oh, we have some time for this today. We have some time for some exclusive God formation. Yes, where are our fireworks? There they are. Yay. I don't know why we don't have sound effects for them, but we don't. All right. Okay. Take it all away. Take it all away as we get to some things. We have some interesting things. Today was the G7 summit. I listened to his speech afterwards for it really wasn't even worth hearing. There were some leaders caught laughing at Joe, questioning and mocking him because he's so lost in their discussions. But what else would you expect? The director of national security hates giving morning updates to President Biden. He feels it's a waste of time. And so much so that he doesn't even really give him the whole thing because he knows Biden doesn't comprehend and isn't processing it correctly. So he gives it all to the chief of staff and to Susan Rice. Obama knows more of the daily briefings than Joe Biden. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, again, worries me, but why after watching the town hall would you give him anything except a teleprompter? And do you think he made the decision to drop the sanctions from Iran? No. And this after finally talking to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and saying, we're with you, buddy. We're pledging security to you. Yeah, we're right here with you. Oh, yeah. I bet he didn't say, we're dropping sanctions on Iran tomorrow. Sorry, got to control my temper because if I throw anything, it's mine and it might break. Yep. Oh, it's just so upsetting. Sometimes you wish you didn't know. Okay, the hands that move forth the Citizenship Act are also moving forward the Gun Control Act. Remember, we can only focus on the American Restoration Plan. Is that what it's called? I can't remember what it's called right now. I don't know why. We can only focus on that. We're all about getting shots in arms and shots after work because when you work for the White House, you need as many shots as you can get. So there, as we showed with Susan Rice, they're working hard on that. They're bringing in all the stops. They're having meeting after meeting. I told you Susan Rice was going to reappear, and boy, when she did, turmoil. After that, out of nowhere, for no particular need except to fulfill making this a godless society, or at least a Christianless society, they are going to start working on redoing 501c3 rules and regulations. Now, if you do not know, that is the nonprofit designation that you have to fill out and get approved for to have a religious organization and some charitable organizations. All right. It will include that you must be obedient to emergency orders or you will lose your tax exemption. Yeah. See, so if they say, oh, church is closed and you don't do it, there's a pastor that got arrested the other day in Canada. He was already arrested once. He bailed out. And then on this second arrest, because he wouldn't quit having church. On the second arrest, they made not having services part of his bail. And he said, I'll just sit here in jail because if I get out, I'm having church. God bless him. God bless him. Man, we don't have a whole lot of pastors like that here in this country. We've got some, but not a whole lot. I mean, I'm telling you we don't. And your religion, because this is based on the LGBTQ plus Equal Rights Act getting passed. Your religion will have to be open to all and have no hate or interpretable hate. Okay? You can't have hate in it or anything that can be interpreted as hate. It must be inclusive to all of those that are granted civil rights under the Constitution. You need not hire those that have different beliefs unless receiving federal funds, which is exactly why they reopened the Faith-Based Initiative office in the White House to get churches in on federal funds. Don't do it, because if any of this comes to pass, you're going to be messed up. But your beliefs must be open to all peoples as they are the height of Christian values. Because we're supposed to love all people. And we do love all people. And we want all people to come to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. And that, my friends, is life-changing. I told you in the beginning, this would have some religion in it. But we're not about hate. Now, have there been some people who have crossed the line and they have been hateful toward certain groups? Yes. But that doesn't mean because the Christian, I hate to say it, Christian religion, but Christianity, belief in Christ, is open to all. Okay? But a proof of that is that you change wrong lifestyles. Biblically wrong lifestyles. Leave it at that because of time. Muslims, however, will be exempted because much of their religion is very hateful toward LGBTQs plus. They will be exempted from these revisions as they are a new and emerging religion in this country. So we can't stifle their growth over protecting civil rights, but we can shut down the Christian church. Now, as on Fridays, we go over the much noted planners meeting. It's every Friday in the White House on your federal dollars. All right, Muslims must be given, this is their planning, and it all just flows together. Muslims must be giving access to prayer calls in and around mosques and predominant Muslim neighborhoods or work areas to include schools, hospitals, and other public buildings. As their religion is highly offendable, it's easy to offend them, right? Muhammad doesn't take too much back talk. Okay? It just doesn't happen. I don't mean that bad. It's just their religion is highly offendable. They must be given preferential treatment in school, work, and even community areas, such as limiting references that would disrespect Allah or Muhammad, limiting of dogs, proper dress observed, and remaining quiet during their prayer times. Yeah, because they're offendable. See, Christians aren't offendable. Jews aren't offendable. Hindus, Buddhists, Buddhists especially. I don't know. Can you offend a Buddhist? I'm not sure. Because they have, this whole nonviolent thing going on. But we're not offendable. I don't know about Wiccans and stuff. I think they can be offended. And other religions that, atheists can certainly be offended. They should be in here. Because if anybody can be offended, it's an atheist. Those people just, I think they get offended when people take the Lord's name in vain, not because they care about that, but somebody said God. Just saying. Just saying. As no other religion is as easily offended, no other religion shall be included in this equity rule. We're going to govern by equity, ladies and gentlemen. Everything's by equity. Those desiring to keep 501c3s in the Christian faith must allow the survey. This is just what they're working on as planners. Must allow the surveillance of appropriate law enforcement to monitor for any white nationalists or supremacist groups. So if you have a church that's predominantly white and you're like mainstream evangelical or right-wing Christian, you to keep your 501c3, they want it that you have to allow law surveillance, law enforcement surveillance of your people. Even mission, this is what they're planning, this is what they want to happen, that missionary literature must be inclusive of all religions and religious views, that which is sent out of the country, so as not to offend any nation. These people are serious. You know how much missionary literature is sent out of this country every day? And it can't offend? Oh, ours doesn't offend anybody. You don't get to decide. They decide. Oh, this is talking about Jesus. That is offensive to a lot of people. You can't send that. This is talking about changing your life. And this is talking about how if you're LGBTQ plus, you must change your life. That offends people. I'm just telling you what they're planning. Don't get mad at me. And then because what do they talk about when they meet on Fridays, these planners? They talk about the church and they talk about Israel because they want us gone. Every time Joe gets up and smiles and talks about faith, he ain't talking about the faith you mean. He's talking about faith in something else. And I'm not trying to be anything. That's just the fact. And even if he isn't, everybody around him is. Iran is to be backed and Israel is to be warned to step down. Because Israel's going to come after Iran. And they're going to warn them, step down, leave it alone. And then what happens? All available funding for Israel must be legally diverted to Palestinian peoples and causes. So find the way. They're looking for the way to do this. And, Congress appropriates, and then the administration, they send it out. And they're looking for a way to channel it and still say that's Israel. And they have a hard time because they don't want to say that's still Israel, because then that puts the Palestinians under Israel by their words. And they're really having a tough time finding legal ways to do it because they know it'll come out. And they need more and more U.S. Jews to stand against Israel and to support the Palestinians. And they want ideas for this next week. How to get more and more U.S. Jews to stand. Because what does that make it look like? The Jews in Israel, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just horrible people. Except for the ones that feel the same way, of course. And on getting Netanyahu to funnel money to the Palestinians or Hamas, they've got to come up with something very quick, because Israel's elections are in March, because they want Gantz to win. That's the more liberal one that will be running, who right now is in a power sharing agreement with Netanyahu. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is just the facts of life here. This is what we're in. Oh no, and the lie of the day. I mean, you'll be seeing it all over. I wish I was the only one that would catch this, but I'm not. Let's play it again.
Will the U.S. lift sanctions first in order to get Iran back to the negotiating table?
No.
They have to stop enriching uranium first.
Well, I just realized this. Technically, he's not lying, because they can say, we didn't do it to get them back to the table. We did it so we could get to the table. But it's still a lie, because they were always going to help Iran. They were always going to be against Israel. They were always going to take rights away from the church. They were always going to take away guns. They were always going to raise taxes. They were always going to raise emission standards so everything is higher. They were always going to do all these things. They were always going to let teenage boys run races against teenage girls. They were always going to take away your rights to your children over letting your kids be whatever sex they want. They were always going to do this. They said it, and now they're trying everything in the world, every way in the world to do it. Better pray. Make your voice heard. Call the White House. Call your representative. Call your senator. As usual, there's so much more we could have put on here, but we just don't have the time, and after a while, it's just almost unbelievable. God bless you. Have a great weekend. God bless America. And we'll be back. As far as I know, we'll be back Monday right here.